There are moments in life when what feels like a delay is actually a rescue. What feels like rejection is protection. What feels like confusion is mercy in disguise. And today, I believe there are people listening to these words who are standing dangerously close to a trap they cannot yet see. You have been wondering why certain doors keep closing, why certain plans keep collapsing, why certain relationships keep falling apart, no matter how hard you try to hold them together. You thought God was abandoning you. But what if God was saving you? What if heaven saw something your eyes could not see? There is a dangerous assumption many people make. They believe every open door is a blessing and every closed door is a curse. But that is not wisdom. Sometimes the enemy opens doors too. Not every invitation is meant for you. Not every opportunity is from God. Not every smiling face carries good intentions. The greatest traps rarely look like traps. They arrive dressed as answers to prayers. They arrive wrapped in attractive promises. They whisper, "This is exactly what you've been waiting for." And that is why discernment is more valuable than desire, because desire can make you run toward the very thing sent to destroy you. Somebody listening right now has been feeling a strange uneasiness in your spirit. You cannot explain it. Everything looks right on the surface, yet something deep inside keeps warning you. Pay attention. That inner conviction may be the mercy of God speaking before disaster arrives. The world teaches us to trust our impulses. God teaches us to test them. The world says, if it feels good, do it. God says, be careful. Not everything that glitters carries light. There are people who have spent years recovering from a decision they made in a moment. One conversation, one compromise, one signature, one secret, one wrong step, and suddenly their entire future changed. The enemy rarely destroys a life all at once. He destroys it inch by inch, compromise by compromise, lie by lie, distraction by distraction, until a person wakes up wondering how they arrived somewhere they never intended to go. But hear this clearly. God does not expose traps to frighten you. He exposes them to save you. A loving father warns his children. A caring shepherd protects his sheep. A faithful God sees dangers long before they become visible. Some of you are frustrated because your plans are being interrupted. Yet if heaven showed you what was hidden behind those plans, you would fall to your knees and thank God for every delay. You would thank Him for the unanswered prayer. You would thank Him for the closed door. You would thank Him for the relationship that ended. You would thank Him for the opportunity that disappeared, because what looked like loss was actually rescue. There are battles you never had to fight, because God fought them before they reached you. There are betrayals you never experienced, because God removed people before they could harm you. There are disasters you never saw, because God redirected your path at the last moment. You call it coincidence. He calls it protection. You call it bad timing. He calls it perfect timing. And perhaps the greatest danger is not the trap around you. Perhaps it is the trap within you. Pride, bitterness, unforgiveness, desperation, fear. These are the hidden doors through which destruction often enters. A person consumed by pride cannot hear warnings. A person controlled by fear makes reckless decisions. A person driven by desperation will accept things they should reject. That is why God is not merely trying to change your circumstances. He is trying to transform your heart, because when your heart changes, your vision changes. And when your vision changes, you begin to recognize what once deceived you. Listen carefully. You do not need to know every detail of the trap. You only need to trust the one who sees it. Faith does not require complete understanding. Faith requires confidence in God's character. When He says wait, there is a reason. When He says no, there is a reason. When He redirects you, there is a reason, even when you cannot see it, even when it hurts, even when it makes no sense. The God who sees the end from the beginning is never confused about the path you should take. So today, stop fighting every closed door. Stop chasing what keeps running away. Stop forcing what God is trying to remove. If peace has left, pay attention. If conviction keeps returning, pay attention. If warning signs keep appearing, pay attention. God may be speaking far louder than you realize. The trap has been set, but so has the rescue. The danger is real, but God's protection is greater. The scheme is hidden, but His wisdom is higher. And before this day ends, make a decision. Choose trust over panic. Choose obedience over impulse. Choose prayer over pressure. Choose God's direction over your own understanding. Because one act of obedience can save you from years of regret. One moment of listening can protect an entire future. And one divine warning, received and obeyed, can change the course of your life forever. God is trying to save you. Do not ignore the warning. Do not silence the conviction. Do not rush ahead of His guidance. The hand that is slowing you down may be the same hand that is keeping you alive. Trust Him. Follow Him. And watch how what seemed like a setback becomes the very evidence that heaven was protecting you all along. There is a dangerous belief that quietly settles into the hearts of many people. The belief that every opportunity must be a blessing, simply because it appears attractive. We see an open door, and we assume God opened it. We see a path become available, and we immediately conclude it must be the right one. We receive an invitation, an offer, a relationship, a promotion, or a chance to move forward, and because it arrives without resistance, we label it as favor. Yet one of the most important lessons a person can learn is that not every open door is from God. Many people have been taught to celebrate opportunities without first examining their source. They have been conditioned to believe that if something looks good, feels exciting, and promises immediate results, it must be a gift from heaven. But appearances can be deceiving. What shines is not always gold. What is easy is not always right. What arrives quickly is not always sent by God. The enemy understands human nature. He understands that people are often drawn toward what satisfies their immediate desires. He knows how to package distractions as opportunities. He knows how to make harmful choices look harmless. He knows how to place temptation behind a beautiful door and convince a person that stepping through it will solve all their problems. That is why wisdom is so important. A trap rarely announces itself. It does not stand in the open with warning signs attached to it. If danger were obvious, very few people would fall into it. Instead, traps are designed to appear safe. They are designed to appeal to your emotions, your ambitions, your fears, and your desires. They are designed to make you lower your guard. Consider how often people regret decisions that once seemed perfect. A relationship looked promising at first. The words were right. The feelings were strong. The future seemed bright. Yet hidden beneath the surface were intentions they could not see. What looked like companionship became heartbreak. What looked like security became pain. The same is true in many areas of life. An opportunity may promise wealth, but slowly pull a person away from integrity. A friendship may offer acceptance while quietly encouraging destructive behavior. A business deal may appear profitable while leading toward compromise and regret. The danger is not always visible at the beginning. Many of life's greatest stakes begin with something that looked harmless. This is why discernment matters more than excitement. Excitement can make people move too quickly. Excitement focuses on what is immediately visible. Discernment looks deeper. Discernment asks questions. Discernment pauses long enough to seek wisdom before taking action. Discernment understands that the value of an opportunity is not determined by how attractive it appears, but by where it ultimately leads. There are moments when an open door enters your life and everything inside you wants to rush forward. The opportunity seems perfect. It appears to answer every prayer. It seems to arrive at exactly the right moment. Yet deep within your spirit, there is a quiet warning that refuses to disappear. Many people ignore that warning. They silence it because they fear missing out. They convince themselves they are overthinking. They tell themselves that caution is unnecessary. Yet that inner discomfort is often more valuable than all the external promises surrounding the opportunity. God's guidance is not always loud. Sometimes it comes as a gentle conviction. Sometimes it comes as a persistent feeling that something is not right. Sometimes it comes through repeated warnings, unexpected delays, or circumstances that force a person to slow down and reconsider. The problem is that people often prefer confirmation over discernment. They want validation for what they already desire. They search for reasons to proceed rather than reasons to pause. They listen to voices that support their plans and ignore voices that challenge them. But wisdom requires humility. It requires the willingness to admit that what appears good may not actually be good. It requires the courage to question opportunities that seem perfect on the surface. It requires patience when every emotion is demanding immediate action. Not every door that opens leads to your purpose. Some doors lead to distractions. Some doors lead to unnecessary battles. Some doors lead to relationships that drain your peace. Some doors lead to compromises that weaken your character. Some doors lead away from the future God intends for you. The fact that a door is open does not automatically mean you should walk through it. A person standing before two open doors faces a greater challenge than a person standing before none. The challenge is not finding an opportunity. The challenge is recognizing which opportunity aligns with truth, wisdom, and God's direction. That is why spiritual maturity is not measured by how many opportunities you can find. It is measured by your ability to recognize which opportunities should be refused. There are seasons when saying no is more powerful than saying yes. There are moments when walking away requires more faith than moving forward. There are situations where protection comes not through advancement, but through restraint. The world celebrates movement. It celebrates action. It celebrates seizing every chance that appears. But wisdom understands that movement without direction can be dangerous. Running quickly toward the wrong destination only increases the distance between you and where you were meant to be. An open door can be a blessing. An open door can also be a test. An open door can reveal whether a person is guided by wisdom or driven by impulse. And the difference between a blessing and a trap is often discovered not by how the door looks when it opens, but by what waits on the other side. One of the most painful experiences in life is standing before a closed door and not understanding why it happened. You prayed for the opportunity, you worked for it, you believed it was finally your time. Everything seemed to be moving in the right direction, and then suddenly the door shut. The answer was no. The relationship ended. The offer disappeared. The plan collapsed. What you expected to become a breakthrough became a disappointment. In those moments, most people immediately assume something has gone wrong. They interpret the closed door as rejection. They see it as failure. They view it as evidence that they have been forgotten, overlooked, or abandoned. The human heart naturally struggles with denial because it focuses on what it can see rather than what remains hidden. What makes a closed door so difficult is that it often arrives without explanation. Rarely does life provide a detailed reason in the moment. Rarely do you receive immediate clarity about why your plans were interrupted. Instead, you are left with questions. You are left wondering what could have been different. You replay conversations, decisions, and circumstances in your mind, searching for answers that do not come. Yet there is a truth many people discover only after time has passed. Some of the greatest blessings in their lives began as disappointments. A closed door does not always mean you are being denied something good. Sometimes it means you are being protected from something harmful. Sometimes what appears to be rejection is actually rescue. Sometimes what feels like loss is an act of divine mercy. The difficulty is that protection rarely feels like protection in the moment. When a child reaches toward a dangerous flame, the hand that pulls them back may feel restrictive. The child may not understand why they are being stopped. All they know is that something they wanted was taken away. What they cannot see is the injury that was prevented. Life often works the same way. There are situations where people for months spend grieving over opportunities they never received, only to discover later that those opportunities would have brought pain, regret, or destruction into their lives. There are relationships that seemed perfect at first, but later revealed hidden dangers. There are business ventures that appeared promising, but eventually collapsed. There are paths that looked successful from a distance, yet ended in disappointment. If those doors had remained open, the consequences might have been far worse than the temporary pain of seeing them close. The problem is that people often judge events too early. They declare something bad before the full story has unfolded. They assume a closed door is a setback when it may actually be a redirection. They focus on immediate disappointment without considering future protection. Human vision is limited. We see fragments. We see moments. We see pieces of a larger picture. God sees the entire landscape. He sees consequences before they arrive. He sees motives hidden behind smiles. He sees dangers concealed beneath attractive appearances. He sees roads that lead toward life and roads that lead toward destruction. Because of this, His guidance does not always align with our preferences. There are times when we ask for access, while He provides protection. We ask for advancement, while He provides delay. We ask for fulfillment, while He removes something from our lives. And because His actions do not match our expectations, we mistakenly interpret His protection as rejection. Many people are carrying wounds from doors that closed years ago. They still wonder why certain opportunities never happened. They still revisit moments that did not go according to plan. They still feel the sting of unanswered prayers and unfulfilled expectation. What they may not realize is that some unanswered prayers contain hidden mercy. Not every desire should be fulfilled. Not every request should be granted. Not every dream should be pursued. A loving God does not simply give people everything they ask for. A loving God also protects people from what they do not understand. Imagine if every impulsive desire immediately became reality. Imagine if every emotional decision automatically succeeded. Imagine if every attractive opportunity produced exactly what it promised. Countless lives would be filled with unnecessary pain because human judgment is often influenced by temporary emotions rather than lasting wisdom. That is why delays can be gifts. That is why interruptions can be blessings. That is why obstacles can serve a purpose beyond what we initially understand. A closed door forces reflection. It forces patience. It forces people to reconsider paths they might otherwise pursue without caution. It creates space for wisdom to speak where emotions once dominated. Many breakthroughs begin with a refusal. Many redirections begin with disappointment. Many testimonies begin with confusion. People often celebrate the opportunities they received while forgetting the disasters they avoided. There are dangers that never reached you because a door closed. There are betrayals that never happened because plans changed. There are mistakes you never made because circumstances prevented them. There are paths you never walked because something interrupted your journey. Protection is often invisible because it prevents events from occurring. You rarely see what could have happened. You rarely witness the pain that was avoided. You only see the door closing in front of you. This is why trust becomes essential. Trust allows a person to remain steady when explanations are absent. Trust allows faith to survive unanswered questions. Trust acknowledges that limited understanding does not mean there is no purpose. A closed door challenges pride because it reminds us that we do not control everything. It challenges impatience because it forces us to wait. It challenges fear because it asks us to believe that something good can emerge from disappointment. There are moments when the greatest act of faith is not pursuing another opportunity. It is accepting that a closed door may contain wisdom beyond your current understanding, because sometimes the opportunity you lost was never meant to define your future. Sometimes the relationship that ended was preventing a greater purpose. Sometimes the plan that failed was protecting you from consequences you could not yet see. Sometimes what feels like rejection is actually a hand guiding you away from danger. Sometimes what appears to be a setback is a rescue unfolding in disguise. Sometimes the closed door standing before you is not evidence that God has abandoned you. It is evidence that He sees something you do not. Desire is one of the most powerful forces within the human heart. It can inspire people to pursue dreams, overcome obstacles, and strive for a better future. Desire itself is not the enemy. It is a gift that motivates movement and fuels ambition. Yet desire becomes dangerous when it takes the place of discernment. When desire sits on the throne of decision-making, people often find themselves chasing what appears attractive while ignoring what is actually wise. The problem with desire is not that it exists. The problem is that desire is often blind. Desire focuses on what it wants. It concentrates on what feels good, what looks promising, and what seems capable of satisfying an immediate longing. It is drawn toward appearances. It responds to emotions. It seeks fulfillment. Because of this, desire can be manipulated. A person who is governed entirely by desire becomes vulnerable to deception because their judgment is clouded by what they hope to gain. They stop evaluating situations objectively. They stop paying attention to warning signs. They stop asking difficult questions. Their focus narrows until all they can see is the thing they want. Discernment operates differently. Discernment is not impressed by appearances. Discernment does not rush because something feels exciting. Discernment is willing to pause, observe, and evaluate. It looks beyond the surface and examines what lies beneath. It asks where a path leads, instead of merely admiring how the path begins. This distinction is critical, because many of life's greatest mistakes occur when desire becomes louder than wisdom. People often believe they are making rational decisions when, in reality, they are simply following strong emotions. They convince themselves that because they want something badly enough, it must be right. They interpret intensity of feeling as evidence of correctness. Yet, strong desire is not proof of divine direction. A person can desperately want something that ultimately harms them. A person can passionately pursue something that leads them away from their purpose. A person can be emotionally attached to an opportunity that was never meant for them. History is filled with examples of individuals who sacrificed long-term peace for short-term satisfaction. They ignored warning signs because desire made them impatient. They dismissed wise counsel because desire convinced them they already knew the answer. They rushed into situations because desire demanded immediate results. Desire often whispers, "Take it now." Discernment asks, "What will this cost later?" Desire says, "This looks perfect." Discernment asks, "What am I not seeing?" Desire says, "I cannot afford to wait." Discernment asks, "Why am I afraid of waiting?" The difference between these voices can determine the direction of an entire life. One of the greatest dangers of unchecked desire is that it creates tunnel vision. It causes people to focus exclusively on potential rewards while minimizing potential consequences. They become so captivated by what they hope to gain that they overlook what they might lose. This is especially true during seasons of desperation. When people feel lonely, they may desire companionship so intensely that they ignore character flaws and warning signs. When people feel financially pressured, they may desire quick success so strongly that they compromise principles. When people feel uncertain about the future, they may desire security to such a degree that they accept opportunities they would otherwise question. Desperation amplifies desire. And when desire is amplified, discernment becomes even more essential. The heart has an incredible ability to justify what it already wants. People can explain away concerns. They can rationalize unhealthy choices. They can reinterpret warning signs as obstacles to overcome rather than signals to reconsider. This is why self-deception is so common. Most people do not intentionally walk into danger. They convince themselves danger does not exist. They tell themselves the situation is different. They tell themselves the risks are worth it. They tell themselves everything will work out. Meanwhile, Discernment continues to whisper caution. Discernment requires humility because it accepts the possibility that our desires may be wrong. Humility is difficult because people naturally trust their own preferences. They trust their emotions. They trust their instincts. Yet wisdom recognizes that human desires are not always reliable guides. What feels right in a moment may produce regret later. What appears beneficial today may create problems tomorrow. What satisfies an immediate craving may weaken a person's future. Discernment understands that appearances are temporary, but consequences endure. This is why mature decision-making often involves resisting the urgency created by desire. The strongest choices are rarely made in emotional haste. They are made through careful reflection. They are made through prayer, wisdom, observation, and patience. They are made by people willing to seek truth rather than merely pursue comfort. A discerning person understands that every opportunity carries hidden realities. Every relationship contains dimensions not immediately visible. Every path leads somewhere beyond the point where it begins. Because of this, discernment pays attention to patterns rather than promises. It watches actions rather than words. It values character more than charisma. It values truth more than appearances. It values long-term outcomes over temporary excitement. This perspective protects people from countless mistakes. Many traps succeed because they appeal directly to desire. They present exactly what a person wants to see. They promise quick solutions. They offer shortcuts. They create the illusion that satisfaction can be achieved without wisdom, but shortcuts often bypass necessary growth. Quick solutions often conceal long-term problems. Easy answers often lead to difficult consequences. Discernment recognizes these realities. It refuses to be controlled by emotional pressure. It understands that not everything desirable is beneficial. Not everything attractive is trustworthy. Not everything exciting is valuable. Not everything available is meant to be accepted. There are moments when the most powerful word a person can speak is no. Not because the opportunity lacks appeal, not because the offer lacks potential, but because discernment sees what desire cannot. Discernment sees the hidden motives. It sees the unseen dangers. It sees the future implications. It sees the cracks beneath the polished surface. Desire lives in the moment. Discernment considers eternity. Desire reacts to what is visible. Discernment evaluates what is hidden. Desire asks, "What do I want?" Discernment asks, "What is right?" And the people who avoid many of life's deepest regrets are often not those with the strongest desires, but those who have learned how to place wisdom above them, truth above emotion, and discernment above the powerful pull of immediate satisfaction.